Hi, everybody. Jay Privman, the national correspondent with Daily Racing Form, back with Mike Watchmaker. He's the national handicapper with Daily Racing Form. We put together the Derby Watch Top 20 every week. And, Mike, there were three significant races on the road to the Kentucky Derby. But let's start with the race that was run at my home track, Santa Anita, the Santa Anita Derby. And shockingly, Bob Baffert ran 1-2 with Roadster and Game Winner, his ninth win in the Santa Anita Derby. Your thoughts on these two colts as they move on to Kentucky?
I thought both horses ran very, very well, Jay. Roadster, because there wasn't a lot of speed in the race, and although the pace might have been a little quicker than it looked like it could be on paper, still he closed from well off the pace to get the job done. And he is now 2 for 2 since undergoing throat surgery, and it looks like his best races are definitely in front of him. But I thought Game Winner ran a tremendous race in defeat. He conceded considerable ground all the way around the racetrack, 4 wide around both turns. He also made his move into the second hottest fraction of the race, the third quarter, and he only got beat a half a length. And this is a horse that, even though he lost both of his starts this year, it was his first 2 career starts, I thought he ran better than he did in both of those losses than he did any of his 4 wins last year.
I agree with everything you said. The one quibble I've got with Game Winner is his propensity to lug in. He did it a little bit in the Breeders' Cup, and he did it, I thought, a lot more in the Santa Anita Derby. He's going to need to correct that kind of an error in the way he performs in order to be at his best on Derby Day. But I agree with what you said about the ground loss. I thought both of his races have been good, and certainly Roadster has come forward since needing that throat surgery following the Del Mar futurity last summer. So 2 top prospects, at least, heading from California. We'll see if more who are California-based do well in some of the other preps coming up this weekend. As for more regarding the recaps last week, let's now turn our attention to the race that was run in your backyard, that being the Wood Memorial. The top 3 finishers out of this race are going to move on to Kentucky, led by Tacitus. Tax was second, High Cal third. Your thoughts on these 3 runners?
I really like Tacitus, Jay. I think he's a terrific horse, very talented and very tough, too. He overcame significant early trouble in the Wood Memorial, and there were a lot of horses that had major early trouble in the race, but he was the only one to do any meaningful running afterward. And he really did put the race away late. He looks like a horse that's going to relish all the distance he can get. I thought it was a definite step forward from his Tampa Bay Derby win in his first start this year, and I think he's absolutely on the upswing and a very dangerous Derby prospect.
Yeah, certainly had to overcome some early trouble, then fell into a pretty good trip after that. The thing I liked about the way he handled all that, Mike, is you know, Tappets are usually pretty hot-blooded, and sometimes they can lose their cool if things don't quite go their way. And I thought this horse really handled that early adversity well and then finished off the race well. I thought Tax had a perfect trip, sitting third behind 2 dueling leaders. Ran well, but he was just second best on the day. And High Cal, for all the trouble that there was in the race, I thought he largely avoided it. Ran on nicely to be third, but still was 4 lengths behind the winner. And I just think he needs to step up his game to be able to beat those 2, let alone the others that are going to be facing him on Derby Day. What did you think of Tax and High Cal?
Well, I think you're absolutely right about Tax. I mean, he had the most dream trip you could ask for a horse to get in a race that was loaded with early trouble. I mean, he was completely trouble-free in the race, and he just wasn't good enough. Still, he ran a lot better than I thought he would, because I was very much against his Withers form. No one came out of the Withers to run particularly well, and I didn't expect him to run particularly well either, but he did. He ran okay. High Cal is a horse that I think is just going to be routinely underestimated. And yes, he didn't have a lot of trouble in the race, but he always runs well. And there were a lot of people that doubted his ability to get 2 turns, and I thought he ran okay going 1 1/8 at Aqueduct. I mean, is he a 1 1/4 horse? Well, I don't know about that, but I think he's the kind of horse that's underestimated a lot, and all he does is run decently every time out.
Yeah, and I will raise my hand as being one of the ones who was skeptical of his ability to go 2 turns, but he certainly turned in a good performance in the Wood Memorial. Let's now take a look at the last of our 3 preps from last weekend. That's the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland. The top 2 finishers from this race will go on to the Kentucky Derby. Vekoma won the race, win, rallied from way downtown to be second. Your thoughts on these 2 horses, Mike?
Well, I thought the Bluegrass field was decidedly weaker than certainly the Santa Anita Derby field and the Wood Memorial field. And Vekoma did what he had to do in the race. I mean, he won decisively, but that said, he went with the flow of a racetrack that I thought was decidedly kind to early speed. And Win ran against the flow of that racetrack. He came from way out of it. Even though he came from way out of it and got up for second by a nose, I still have questions about him going a distance of ground. Vekoma has a license to also move forward. This was only his second start of the year. I'm not sure about Win, especially going a mile and a quarter.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about Vekoma is that he's got really funky action, but he finished the race off well, I thought. And yes, the track profile on Saturday at Keeneland really did favor a horse with his style, but I like the way he kicked clear from everybody down the lane. As for Win, I thought he ran well. The track, as you mentioned, was against him, and when he first started his rally on the far turn, he ran into a spot of trouble and then still had to re-rally after that, and I thought kept to his task well to be second. It wasn't going to threaten the winner. He was only second best on the day, but I thought it was a good performance from a horse who, like you, I was skeptical about his two-turn ability earlier this year, and I think both of his two-turn races so far have been good. Are they good enough to win the Derby? Not sure about that, but they were certainly good, solid races, and he, like Vekoma, deserves to go on to the Kentucky Derby. That's our look at the three big prep races from last week. There's only two more to go on the road to the Kentucky Derby, and Mike and I will preview those in our preview video, which is right here at DRF.com as well. For Mike Watchmaker, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.